Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of PS I Love Me podcast with a special guest. Just me, Gina Swire, a very special guest. As I speak, there is a glorious rainbow right in front of me, and I can see both ends of it. Literally just spotted it then as I started to speak. And so I'm sending rainbow energy, pot of gold, hopeful, colorful, beaming out of the clouds energy to you wherever you are right now. Thank you, universe. More, please. That was a glorious start to this podcast. So today I am extremely excited, honored, and wow, surprised actually to be talking about the journey to becoming an author of PS I Love Me. If you're watching me on YouTube right now, you will see the book, and if you're listening to me on podcast platform, just know the sound, the smell of these pages. Wow, this is a real big one. So first of all, I would love you to just actually feel into how you're feeling right now. I was just running around looking for my microphone because I've been really on the go and not particularly in one base lately. So I was looking in my car for my microphone. I was looking in downstairs. I was looking in all the different boxes, and I was like, where is it? And I just stopped and I was like, wow, Gina, wow. I'm so like exhilarated and excited at the moment. I'm just loving this period of being in the launch of my book. I feel so alive. And at the same time, I have this kind of sensation, have you ever had that where you've been crying as a child and later on in the day you get a few little like a little kind of breathless feeling after you've been crying? And I kind of have a sense of that as well. So I am aware that in my own life there is so much going on, so many new things, and some completions. My relationship with Vincent is completed. I feel very clearly onto a new chapter. More on that on another podcast. I also, if you've been reading my newsletters or seeing me on Instagram, you might have seen that personally, I've been just floating around like a leaf lately, and a blissful leaf at that. I've been in a bliss state for quite a few months after I had the big C-bomb. I feel so grateful to be alive. I feel so healthy, happy, grateful. Just really have come back to myself on a whole new level. And I feel really, really grateful, even though it was hell, to be in this new mindset. And so to give you a tiny bit more background, I have been on such a natural health kick. You might have seen me buying new juices and blenders and upgrading everything and buying organic veg boxes. And I just feel so back to myself in the deepest way. And I'm really enjoying it. My body's really enjoying it. And I'm so grateful for that. So little reminder there, if you are not quite on that vibe, of just remember how good it feels when we give our body and ourself space and time and rest and healthy foods and organics and walks and nature and barefoot walking on the grass. And it just changes the game. So invitation for a little self-care from the 150% self-care queen at the moment. And of course that can change, but so I would love you to tune in with yourself and just see what is happening inside of you right now. And this could be a whole selection of different contradicting or not contradicting, I can't think what the word is, things. And let's just name it. So have a think of 5 to 10 kind of feelings that you have right now and just let yourself really feel yourself in this present moment, listening to this podcast. Let's take a few deep breaths. Deep breaths feel so good. And I hope you're doing these with me. And wherever you are, if you've not just taken 3 deep breaths, press pause and take your 3 breaths, because honestly, what a game changer. Feels like a warm hug on a winter's day by a log fire to the body. And I instantly feel grounded. So thank you for doing that with me. So today I'm going to be talking a bit more about P.S. I Love Me, the book, which is honestly my baby. And yesterday I was at a wedding and I was with a lot of old friends, a beautiful wedding in the Lake District. And pretty much everyone of my old friends has had children. And that is something that I want and wanted to do. And that hasn't been my reality right now. So when I was catching up with people, I was, asking how their kids are doing and how's this and how's that. And then, they're asking me and I'm like, yeah, well, I gave birth to a book. And yeah, that has been a huge amount of energy and a project. And, the responses are very varied, from, wow, that is so incredible. Like, wow, how do you even go about starting to write a book? And other people who've known me longer, just like, I know how long this has taken you and well done, and everything in between. So yeah, this really has been such a huge project. And I'm going to take you back to a time, and we're going to actually do an exercise around this. So make sure you've got your notebook and your journal. I am going to take you back to a time when I was not an author and was not planning on being one, and absolutely did not want to write a book. And I did an exercise, and I'm going to do the exercise with you today. And that was the conception of the book. So that was actually 4 years ago, possibly, I don't know exactly, but I was at a festival in Ubud called Ancient Futures. Actually, not in Ubud. It was north of Ubud at a place called Akasha. Let's get it right, Gina, because why not? Beautiful bamboo, amazing structured venue. And they put on a festival, Ancient Futures, which is such a trip to even think of that in itself. And there was a range of speakers and a lot about manifestation. And actually, when I think about that now, if it was on now, I would probably be a speaker at it. But at that time, I was new in my business and I was really into manifestation and yoga. And I was just so enthusiastic. I think I went to pretty much every workshop. And yeah, I was in a workshop and did this exercise. And basically, I faced a big limiting belief. And when I faced that, I got the guidance of, this is what you're going to do. And everything changed from that moment. So without further ado, let's go in and do that exercise right now. So get your journals and pens out. You're going to need them. And what I would like you to do is draw 3 lines on your paper. So if you're using an A4 notebook or an A3 notebook or an A whatever notebook, draw the line from one side to the other. So 3 timelines. And on the first timeline, I would like you to put down anything in your life that you know is already about to happen in the next year. So, for example, my birthday's in May. So halfway through the year, I'll put a little note and I'll put my birthday. And then, if you've got a wedding booked in, or you've got a friend's birthday or a child's birthday, or maybe you have a holiday booked in or whatever. I know we're still in crazy times. Put those all on the timeline on the top one. So that's the things that are already happening. Even if you don't manifest anything, it's already going to happen. And then on the next timeline, we're going to write the things you are manifesting in the next year. Okay. So on the next timeline, write down, say you want to start a new business, or you want to leave a job, or you want to buy a new house, or maybe it's going through, or what are some of my manifestations for the next year? I want to go back to Bali at some point. I'm manifesting buying a house in Bali. What else is in my manifestations at the moment? My life is kind of all changed all of a sudden because one story has ended and the next story hasn't begun yet. So I'm kind of in that intermediary phase of just healing and repairing, but there's a few manifestations in there. So feel into what it is for you and pop that on the second timeline. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You can just put that however you want it. Okay. And then on the third timeline, this is your wildest dreams timeline. This is if you lived in a world that was completely infinite. You had unlimited money, unlimited time, unlimited resources, unlimited support, unlimited childcare, unlimited flights, and everything was unlimited in your wildest dreams, and you got the best opportunities that could ever have been presented to you in a million lifetimes, all happened in 1 year, what would they be? So actually the first thing that comes to mind, which I didn't even know, but I have had this inkling before, is I would love to be someone's birth partner and like help give birth to a child. That's something that in my wildest dreams I would be asked to do. And I think in another life I was a doula. So you can pause this if you want, so you can have some time to think about any of those three timelines. When I very first did this exercise, that was when in my wildest dreams, writing a book came in. And I didn't even want to write it, because I was like, no. At school, I was not very good at English. In fact, English was my worst topic, my worst subject. I was really good at maths and more kind of stuff like that, and drama and science and that kind of thing, but English, no. So I'll be honest, my mum did my GCSE coursework. She wrote my stories because I just didn't think I was going to pass it. And I think I got my lowest grades in English, and somewhere in there, I was told that I wasn't good at English and I wasn't good at reading. Along the way, and just see if this is true for you in any way, I decided, I don't know if it was specifically that I was told by a teacher I wasn't going to be good at that, or I wasn't as good at that, or whatever, but I decided I wasn't good at it and I wasn't going to do it. And when we do that, it's almost like we create a contract with ourselves and then we live out that contract forever. And so, it's like a child's operating system, or if you think of your computer or device that you're listening on now, or your phone, if you never updated that, if it's an iPhone or, that kind of thing, from the first 5% of its life or the first 10% of its life, at 40% of its life, that operating system is going to be very outgrown. And so basically that's what happens to us. My operating system then, to keep me safe and not embarrassed and, keep me happy and whatever, that I decided when I was a little child, now is not that effective because I actually want to do some of these things, or, would be good at them, as I've now demonstrated. Woohoo. So where is that true for you? Where have you maybe been told or internalized something as something negative or not possible, or created a contract with yourself where you've decided you're not going to do something and you're not good at it, and you're still playing out that now as an adult. So I'll give you a moment to write that down as well, because it's quite key. And if you want to pause this again, it's a bit of an interactive podcast style today, which I'm enjoying. So as I'm telling you this, today I have sent out a big message on WhatsApp to pretty much all of my contacts about supporting me in the launch of my book, which is quite a vulnerable ask, because people in there that I haven't spoke to for ages, and it's like one part of me is like, oh, they're not going to be interested. It's not a big deal to them, like I don't want to ask. And then another part is like, Gina, just ask. They can always say no. And I guess I adopted a new thing a few years ago, which is really helpful. I'll share it with you here. If you assume that all men fancy you unless they tell you they don't, or you assume that everyone loves you unless they tell you they don't, or you assume everyone wants to give you that opportunity unless they tell you you don't, this kind of thing. So my natural, until a few years ago, is to assume that men, it was in terms of men that I had this realization, but you can apply it to anything, to getting a job, to getting opportunities, anything. I used to assume that men don't fancy me unless they tell me they do. But actually, if we shift that to the opposite way, or I used to assume that, people don't want to help me out unless they tell me they do. But if we shift that to the other way around, it is massively helpful in life, massively helpful. So that was just a little nugget in there. So I sent this big message on WhatsApp and asked everyone to help me support, the book launch, which was really fun. And quite a few people messaged back. And one of the ladies that messaged back is a friend of mine who I've not spoke to for a while, just as, busy bees. And she said she'd love to help me with my launch and this, that, and the other. And she went and read some of my posts on social media. And I was talking about this, how, I was never good at English, and I had to overcome so many blocks to write this book. And I really, really have, which I'm going to talk about more so in a moment. But I had to overcome so many blocks to write this book, or you can apply this to any project. And she was like, you know what? I've just had a massive realization from reading your post. She was like, I've been telling myself it's not divine time for myself to write my book. But then that doesn't feel quite true, because she really wants to write one. So she asked her guides if it's a block, and her guides said yes. So she sat in meditation and fell into what this block is, and asked her guides to tell her or show her what it is. And what came up was a memory from being really young at school, and a teacher saying, "You'll never be a teacher." And also, when little kids write in pencil, but when you get really good at writing or spelling, you get to move on to pen. And it's kind of like a bribe technique that primary school teachers used to use. I don't know if they still do, but it's also effective in a way, because I was desperate to get on to having a pen. And my friend, she was on pencil for longer than she thought she should have been. And that happened to me as well. And so it's already kind of like creating separation, and also like some people are good at it and you're not. And so I'm not. So that kind of made me think, well, I'm not good at this, so I'll probably be never good at it. I'll never be good at it. And I don't even want to do it. And I'm not doing it, and that played out then all through high school. And it's nobody's fault. It's actually a catalyst, an awakening to evolve. But yeah, it's just a weird one. So I'm interested to hear if anything comes up for you listening around that. And so after years and years and years of thinking I'm rubbish at writing, like I would literally speak this into reality of, oh, I'm rubbish at English. Oh no, I'm rubbish at writing. And not just writing, but also reading. So honestly, the amount of books that I've read with a book and reading is probably, I don't know, 20, maybe 30. I've listened to a lot of audiobooks. But yeah, reading a book and also kind of having a story, because I used to be sometimes in a special class at school for English, probably because of these stories playing out. And I was like, I'm not doing it. And so with that, I perpetuated it. And then I was in a special class and I used to go to special classes at break time and speak to this special teacher. And there was me in the class thinking, oh, I'm just not good at this. I'm not going to amount to anything. And so to overcome all of this took a lot. And so I'm sharing this to remind you that you might have some blocks. In fact, and everyone has blocks. Everyone I know has something that they're working on and going to the next level on. That's the nature of what we do. If you're listening to this podcast, it's probably the nature of what you do as well. And so when I was modeling, my social media posts were just a photo of me and maybe a couple of words, and that was it. Writing wasn't a big part of what I did. And when I went through what I'll call my awakening, because I really woke up and started to see the world differently, started to ask different questions, started to question everything I've been told and everything I've learned and everything I know, everything I am. Maybe you might relate to that feeling. So I was actually about 29 when that happened. Well, my first awakening was when I was 24, when my dad died. But then another few years passed where I just kind of felt like an alien with all the people I was around. And then at 29, I don't know, the universe was like, absolutely not, Gina. I'm going to throw you off the cliff into oblivion. And that's what happened. I had my huge awakening, cannot avoid this anymore. Here you go. Here's the self-love codes. This is your job. This is your mission. Here we go. And never really looked back. So I feel like I've just had another one of those, to be honest. I've just had another cosmic pushing off the cliff. And I shared a meme on my Instagram the other day, which was like a wheelbarrow with a pretty little girl with a like mean looking woman behind, like a witchy kind of mean woman. And it was like me in my comfort zone, the universe, which was the woman pushing me off the cliff. And then it was like, no, I'm fine here. And then the universe had pushed me off the cliff. And it made me chuckle. And I feel like that's what's happened lately, because even 3 months ago, I was like buzzing. I was like, yeah, great. Everything's great in this relationship. We're thinking of having a baby, thinking of buying a house together. Business is going well, manifesting like a pro, living in a mansion. Boom, like everything's going well. And then it's like, whoop ass. See you later. No, that is not it. You're changing everything. We're changing course. That is a completion. You've got the lesson onto a whole new world. Gina 3.0 is born. Oh my gosh, you can't even write this stuff, or maybe you can. Yeah, so when I became a coach, which was by accident, as if you've listened to my first podcast on here, I was talking all about that. I applied to a course which I thought was around health, and it was actually like health coaching, learning to coach other people on health. And a lot of the modules were around business and, things that come with business, like copywriting and making a website and doing marketing and funnels and all of this, which I had no interest in. I didn't plan to do any of that. But anyway, the universe had a very different plan for me. And very soon I was kind of like, wait a minute. When I signed up to do this health coaching stuff that I didn't sign up to do, when I signed up to do this health course, I didn't realize that it was going to mean I had to become good at writing, and writing is not my thing. And at first I tried to like recruit different friends, or I remember even putting out on social media, I need a writer to help me with writing. And a few friends came forward and like, I can write. And I was like, God damn these people. How do you know how to write? I can't write. I can't write. And I was just affirming that I can't write. And perpetuating this story that I created before I was 10. So, have you got any of these stories? Please have some of these stories. And it's not just me. I know it's not, because I know I've heard from a lot of my clients and friends. Anyway, so I did start to write. And I remember I was so janky writing on social media. I used to think, oh, who's going to read this? This is crap. I'm rubbish at this. Nobody cares. All the limiting beliefs, all the blocks, all the everything, all the perpetuation of the negativity. And one day I remember I just let myself flow into my notes, and I was like, million miles and million words per second or minute, wrote this whole thing, didn't spell check it, because that was the other thing. I was telling myself I'm rubbish at spelling and rubbish at grammar. And my old people around me used to reflect that, because they were very particular about spelling and grammar. And I'd always rejected that. I was like, whatever, as long as the content's good, as long as the intention's good, as long as there's heart in it, whatever. I don't care if people spell things wrong, which was all part of the story as well. You know, it was all part of rejecting the English language and English teachers and English at school. So well done me. Very clever of my psychology to do all of that. So all of a sudden wrote this whole stream of consciousness and just posted it. And I even wrote, I'm not even going to read this back. I'm just going to post it. And it was all spelt wrong. And sometimes that post pops up on my social media from like a million years ago. And it was so engaged because it was so raw and it was so me. And it was really me coming out of my shell as a writer for the first time. I didn't call myself a writer then. And it also was kind of like a freedom aspect, because around the same time, I went from really caring what, you know, old friends and family and people see on social media that I write, to like kind of my first liberation of being like, sod it, I've got a message to share. It's going to be raw. It's coming from the heart. And here we go. So if you do follow me on social media at Gina Swire, you may have seen some of my posts that are a bit rough around the edges, but hopefully you do feel the authenticity in the heart. And that is really just how I write. So over the years, I have honed my skills with writing. And yeah, I realized that I'm actually really good at writing. And when I got that new belief, I'm actually really good at this, people then started to tell me I was really good at it. And that's how beliefs work. If you think you're crappy at something, you will find evidence on the outside world that you are crappy at it. For example, if you think your body is gross or sucks, you'll likely find people, you'll attract people, you'll manifest people, you'll be aware of people who tell you your body is gross or is not good enough, or if you're a size 10, they date you, or whatever the story is. And like with me, as soon as I shifted to, oh my God, I'm a work of art, I'm a magical machine, I'm like insanely beautiful from every angle, with every wibble, every bit of cellulite is insanely attractive and beautiful and queen-like and godlike and saintly and just should be worshipped and desired and all of these things. Guess what? I started to meet people in the street, boyfriends, clients, everyone. People will say these things to me and I'm like, yes, that's exactly right. So just like with writing, people just started to message me being like, wow, you write so well. Like, great. And then that perpetuates that. So yeah, I just wanted to share that. It's been such a journey to writing this book. So then with that exercise that I shared at the beginning, I got this download, I'm going to write a book. And the very next day, I woke up to an email from kind of like a new contact who had launched a 30-day bestseller book challenge. And I was like, woke up, boom, hadn't even put it on my vision board, bought the course, signed up, and I wrote the first chapter before my partner at the time even was awake in the morning. That is how in flow, in sync I was. And also when I get guidance, which, oh my God, I'm just looking out the window and there's a tree in the back garden. And I think it's the chimney, but it's making a shadow of a penis. Just thought I'd throw that in there just for a bit of, I don't know what, just for a bit of a laugh. Anyway, back to the book. Oh my God, there's even a penis shadow on my tree. What does that tell us? Anyway, I wrote this book. Oh yeah. So I was just going to tell you, when I get guidance, and recently I've not been having an awful lot of guidance because I've been just kind of in this healing state after having the C-bomb and a breakup and just kind of floating around like a leaf and just blissful, but not having particularly too much direction. And I knew and I know that it would come. And last night, something catalyzed something. I won't go into too much detail. But this morning, I woke up like, wha-bam, you're doing this on this date. This is how it's going to be. You're going to buy this house, and bam. I was like, okay. And so personally, once I know what I'm doing, it doesn't take long for me to do it. You know, some people are like, oh, well, I've decided I'm going to move to Bali. So I'm going to quit my job in 3 months. And then I've got 3 months to prepare everything and rent my flat out. And then I'm going to go. That is not how my world operates at all. I'm like, 1 week feels like a long time once I know what I'm doing. So same with this book. The next day I'd already written chapter 1. And yeah, so I had a really fast start. And if you ever do write a book or any big pieces of writing, especially a book where you're telling stories and talking about stuff in your life or your experience, I found that part, and I hear from friends, that part is so good. And I was like, wow, I'm really good at this book writing thing. I was on a flow, I was on a mission, I was loving it. No writer's block, just writing every single day. Loving it. Wrote a whole book in 30 days. And it was so cathartic. And it really gave me this big boost of, oh my gosh, I'm writing a book and I'm good at it. And this old story is gone. So yeah. Anyway, fast forward, I had a lot of bumps in the road. I went into a dark night of the soul. So you'll read about that in the book when you get yours, hopefully. On that, if you've already got your book or you're about to get it, we're trying to get 100 reviews in the first month, because if we get 100 reviews, the book goes out due to the algorithms and due to the things, it gets seen by so many more people. So if you do have a kind heart and you do love this kind of stuff and you do love this podcast, please go to Amazon and leave us a review, even if it's a couple of lines. I'll be extremely grateful. And if you screenshot that review and send it to me, you'll be entered into the competition. If the competition's already finished by the time you hear this, still screenshot it and message it to me anyway, because I've got a gift for you. So that's really exciting. And I'll be so grateful if you leave a review. Honestly, I will just love the fact that this book gets to go out even further because of you. So there's been a lot of waves due to a dark night of the soul you'll read about in the book, and then a lot of writer's block. And then when the editor started working with it and started editing it, that was such a challenge, because then I would get big chunks back with like things to think of and things to kind of like reconsider or rework or rewrite. And I didn't dare write anything else. It was just a big block to get over. So I got over that. And then it came to the time where it's time to start looking at getting a publisher. And at first, a massive publisher were really, really keen. And yeah, then the C-bomb dropped. That was in that time when we all were going into lockdown and publishers were kind of going crazy and nobody was in the offices and they weren't sure if they were going to get books published. Then there was going to be like a 2-year waiting list because everything was in lieu. Yeah, so there's been a lot of things for everyone in the last couple of years, but with books, the book business and the book industry and publishers have been very bizarre. And anyway, so then I got another publisher and then, yeah, something happened and they ended up, the book was taking a bit longer to get finished because there's a bazillion things that goes into a book. Honestly, things I never even knew go into a book, and we didn't get it out in time. And then they were merging with another company. And just as we were about to go and like kind of press print on the book, they pulled out. And my whole team had been working on this launch so much, so many hours, so much planning, so many website pages, all the things, in-person book launch, all booked and paid for. And the next thing, we're not going to publish your book anymore. It's for the best. And I was like, ah. And honestly, that put me into quite a spiral because I was like, oh, maybe this book isn't right. Maybe it's not a fit. And some of these thoughts were coming up. And yeah, it was challenging, to have done that much work and it be a false start. But anyway, when I tuned in, when I meditated on it, I really, really felt, you know what, this book has its own soul, its own heart. It's not even my book, to be honest. This book was a download from the cosmic, the universe that came through me and asked to be written. And I wrote it. And it is written to be shared. And so I made a pact with myself that I'm going to publish this book. This book is going to be published. And even if I sell one copy, and even if it's to myself, then it will have done its job. And that was it. So I basically took the pressure off. And yeah, so I'll give you my little analogy. It was like a very slow labor with this book. And I haven't had children, so I have nothing other than stories to relate it to. But it was like a very, very slow, painful, false start labor. And it went on and on and on and on and on. And eventually I was like, you know what? I actually just want to be sedated. I want a cesarean. I want an epidural. I want all the drugs. I just want somebody else, a cosmic surgeon, to remove this book from me and put it out into the world. And so, yeah, I was in a really challenging time, and that's what I needed at that point. So in came Panoma Press, who I was connected to and had an initial meeting. And then I got an email from them, and the email was from the book midwife. That's their name, their email name. And I was like, boom, that's who we're going with. And so since then, we've had to go through a whole process with Panoma, but they've been amazing. And they have given me a cesarean, basically. And I'm so proud and so happy and so relieved that this book is now out. So pre-sale until the 30th of September. And then from the 30th of September, free as a bird all around the world. So you can get your copy in any country. We'll put all the links in the show notes. And yeah, like I said, leave a review. And there's, so the other thing I wanted to tell you about is the audiobook. So another part of this pie in terms of blocks around English, it wasn't just about writing, it was also about reading. And in to be specific, reading out loud. So reading has never been a big thing for me. As I said earlier, I will listen to books on audiobook, which is hence why I'm having an audiobook, because I get it. So when it came to reading out loud in the past, like at school, I used to in high school, if a teacher asked me to read out loud, which they often did, I would go bright red, start stuttering, stammering, and hardly anything would come out. And I would want so much to read well and speak clearly and calmly. But it's like my brain would switch off and I would just not get it out. And I remember one time actually crying and the teacher being like, you need to go, are you in the special class for reading? Because you need it. And I just felt so humiliated and so rubbish and less than and unintelligent and just stupid that, again, I think I made another contract. I'm never doing that again. So that's actually the reason why I've not done a TED Talk, because with a TED Talk, you have to have like a speech, not that you're reading it, but you have to memorize it and speak it out loud. So it all plays in. And same with public speaking. That was a massive block, which is one of the biggest blocks for all people, not those who are lucky enough to just be naturally amazing at all these things. But for me, it's been such a journey and a journey of self-love. It doesn't just happen overnight. And even with speaking gigs, I do a lot of speaking gigs now and totally open to more. So if you want me to come and speak in your group or at your whatever, in your office or with your online community, or you want me to speak at a festival, do hit me up and we will see if it's a fit. But occasionally, and I royally messed up. I went to speak at an event in New York a few years ago and talk about fuck up. I had just like a few things happen. Like I'd flown in the night before from LA, got there quite late. It was really cold because New York is considerably colder than LA at certain points of the year. Didn't really have the right clothing, got really late. And then there's also, I think, a 3-hour time gap. And then we also had to wake up really early for this event to get there really early because we were all part of it. And I'd had 3 hours less sleep, which is not good for me. So I was freezing, tired, jet lagged, and just not quite myself. And then at this event, another lady spoke before me who was so incredibly amazing, so amazing. And she also spoke on the exact things that I'd planned to speak on. She did a very similar exercise just by complete chance to the one I'd planned to do. So I got all up in my head and I just didn't have it together. And when it came to me speaking, I just wasn't myself and I completely flunked it, gave a really not very great speech and kind of died on the spot, died internally on the spot. And so after that event, I just had to give myself so much love and so much attention and just be like, Gina, if you speak at 100 gigs, you are going to mess up at least 5 of them. And they're not going to be your best. And so what? And so what, At some point, I will have said the perfect thing to the perfect person in the perfect time. And I can never know what the impact of my talking or being there, my presence is going to be on someone. And I just have to trust that. And that is a cosmic lesson in itself. So with all these things, all these blocks, there's always something good to be taken out of it, but it does suck at the time when you're just like, God, why am I messing this up so badly? Anyway, so with this reading thing, through all the years, even on retreats that I've run, and there might be something that I wanted to read out, and I've pushed myself and I've been like, I'm just gonna own this. Like I've got this thing I want to read out and this is a block for me. I've got a block from school about reading and I'm getting over it, but reading out loud is not my best skill. And I've read it out loud and everyone's applauded me. And, so I've pushed it a little bit over the years. Anyway, fast forward to last week and it's time to record my audiobook. So for 2 days last week, I was in a studio recording my audiobook for Audible. And I felt good about it. But I was also like, shit, I hope I'm going to be good at this because, it's quite important and I want it to be a good transmission and I just want it to be great for everyone. So anyway, it was great. I went and I actually did really, really well at it and I felt really good. And the guy I was recording with, Dean, was so lovely, held such beautiful space for me and was so like, if I'm doing something that I'm not sure of and someone is very like particular about how they acknowledge me, like he was like, I just want to acknowledge you because you're reading it like a book and that's what we really want and that feels really natural, and I want to acknowledge you because when you stumble, you just take a breath and you just carry on and that's great. And he just really acknowledged me in a beautiful way. So shout out to Dean. Thank you so much. So it was quite an edge to read out loud for 5 hours for 2 days, pretty much solid with a few 10-minute gaps. But yeah, like how many people in the world can say that they've read a whole book out loud into a microphone in a recording studio? So yeah, it was a new experience and I really enjoyed the experience, which was what I was hoping for and what I was manifesting. So yeah, there will be an audiobook. It was an edge, but it went really well and it was enjoyable. And so one of the things was that when I read my book out loud, of course, I got to read my book again. And because it's a few years since I've written it, of course, it's been kind of edited and most books take, well, I'm not going to say most books, but a lot of books I'm hearing take quite a while, even though I did kind of compare myself to my friend Eugene, who started his first book after I'd already written mine and I was on the edits and we were living together in LA at the time and he was writing his book and I was editing the edits, and he smashed out his first book and second book before I've finished editing mine, basically. So I was kind of like, I was watching myself, comparing myself to that, but not, if you know what I mean, catching myself in it and allowing it and whatever, divine timing and all the things, but also, grrr, Eugene is amazing. Anyway, so the thing was, because I wrote it a while back, some of the things in it are now basically healing how I am in my life right now. So I'm a new pattern of my life, a new area, a new time, a new chapter. Well, let's keep it book language. I'm actually in a whole new book, to be honest, but reading this book out loud and going through these concepts that I've written, some of them I'd forgotten I'd written, some of the little nuggets in it, totally forgotten I'd written. And it was really healing me. And there's a chapter all about, it's called Realizationships, all about relationships. And, I'm just in a breakup. So I was really applying these things to myself. And some of the things that I've been learning from this relationship completion which I'd forgotten, are the same things that I'd learned from my other relationship completion that I was actually writing about at the time. And it was so trippy. I was like, wow, I know this. This is coming from my heart. And it was so healing to be in it. And just like the practices that I share and the different things like self-talk module, comparison chapter, all the different chapters, each one of them just grounded me and reminded me and just healed me. So I cannot wait for you to read it and hear what you think. There's so many, I mean, I call them like kind of not basics, but like not basic, but the basics or the basis of self-love. So there is some really deep and not complex, but like deep and meaningful concepts in there for sure. However, really the basis of self-love and coming back to those things, which if you're new to self-love, you may not know yet. Or if you're old self-love like me, or I mean, I don't know if 10 years is old to self-love. But if you are somewhere in the middle, these concepts are really the ones that really bring you back home. So yeah, it was such a joy and a pleasure to reread it and get the benefit. And side note, over this process, I've had different editors and copywriters and proofreaders, and even, I've had a team of friends who've been checking the proof and edits. So a few different people have read it, a few clients as well, and a few influencers, I'll just point in there, have read it. And everybody has had a transformation reading this book. And it's so interesting because, one of them, the proofreader lady, was a lady in America, I think, not met her, but just sent emails. And she was like, yes, that there was a reason why I got this book to proof, because what I'm going through in my life right now, this is exactly what I needed to hear. This is exactly what I needed to do. I'm so grateful that I got put on this book. Thank you, thank you, thank you for this message. It's changed the trajectory of my week, of my month, of my year, of my marriage. And I was just like, wow, thank you for sharing that. So like I said, this book has its own heart, its own soul. This book's soul has been speaking to me for so long. And yeah, it's really its own entity. And I really can't wait for you to meet this entity and let it heal you and be with you in your life. And I'd love you to gift a book to a woman who, might be up for a new book, or, you just think you could help her. I just can't wait for the ripple effect. Oh, wow. So I'm going to leave it there, I think. I'm so honored and grateful that you're listening this far on this podcast. I am absolutely honored. I love you all so much. My lovely, committed, amazing community of angels, light workers doing amazing things in your life. If you are really, really, really getting ready for a big hit of self-love and your own life-changing trajectory, it's really hard to say that word. We have all kinds of things coming up that are going to help you. So the 12-step self-love transformation is about to open. So little birdie told me that. So that's a secret that I'm probably not meant to share. And there's all kinds of other things in the show notes that you can get involved in. So again, a big thank you. Please share this episode with someone who could benefit from this. And like I said, if you've already got your book, please go and leave a review. I will be eternally grateful, because that is really how we get the self-love message out far and wide. Far and wide, my friends, far and wide. Let's do it together. Thank you so much. If I can support you in any way, please reach out to me on social media. And don't forget to screenshot this and tell people you've been listening to it. Every little helps, just like in Tesco. Bye for now. If you've loved this podcast, if you have taken anything away, then do everybody a favor and please share it. Leave a 5-star review. This will help us to get noticed, to get seen, and for more of the right people to hear it.